What's happening, Nerdtopia? Welcome to Nerdtopia.
Four, three, two, one.
Broadcasting in the corner of Dr. Doom's basement, but he's our homie, so we never ever pay rent. It's N to the E to the Nerdtopia, like a plasma cannon, man. You know we're steady smoking. Yep, comics, books, movies, and video games are our claim to fame and recognition of name. We've changed the reign, but kept it the same, and we hope to gain acclaim from time and again. We're coming at you, repeating from Walking Dead, and you know we got pissed when the Reddit ran red. A plethora of guests, even more than Bill and Ted. The ratings of the Lost Ark and them go to our head. It's dangerous to go alone. Your iPod should have us, and Superheroes got our back, and that you can trust. We're blowing up crazy large, like our name is Hodor, so let's give a hand to Doolin, cause his mic is on. Word.
Oh, what's up? What's going on, Rick?
Hey, how you doing, Doolin?
Good, man. Joining me today from New York City is my buddy Rick Rodriguez, who was nice enough to call in and sit down and do this week's episode with me. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine, man.
We've done this once or twice before. Sometimes we've been in the same room. Sometimes we haven't. We sat down. Oh man, God, can you believe it's been like 3 years since we sat down and did our Batfleck podcast?
Almost on the date.
Yeah, almost.
And, Affleck had just been casted.
Yeah, and we sat down. We were actually the people that went to bat for him, and
yes,
that movie didn't turn out quite the way we wanted it to. But I don't think that Ben Affleck was the problem with that.
No, definitely not. If anything, he was like it seemed to be the one positive thing that people would say about the movie.
I wholeheartedly agree. I thought he did a great job, and I actually discussed all that last week with my buddy Ryan Bisengard. We sat down and we talked about Civil War versus Batman v Superman and kind of the similarities and the differences.
That's it, man. And Marvel won.
Marvel's Marvel won. You know what? I still kind of have hope for the DC cinematic universe, though, man. I think they'll turn it around.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys talked about this thing. Warner Brothers did a whole revamp kind of thing of how it's gonna the production is gonna function. Now they actually created a division called DC Films, and it's gonna be run by
Jeff Johns, man,
and Jeff Johns, right?
Jeff Johns. That's why. That's why I have hope for the DC cinematic universe. When I saw that they kind of put Zack Snyder out and then put Jeff Johns at the helm, I said, "Okay, man, we got a shot here."
Course correction.
Exactly. Because Jeff Johns just makes these beautiful, masterful epics, and I think he'll do good things to the DC universe.
Yeah, I hope they get it. They make it heroic. It's not whatever that was.
No, it's way too dark and gritty. But they've been kind of hinting about taking like a lighter turn, especially for the tone of Superman, which was my beef. But that's
remember that montage? He's saving people. The movie made me feel bad that he was saving
right.
People.
Like, you feel guilty. You feel guilty that he's, like, doing what Superman does. And people are like, fuck this guy. This guy's an asshole. I'm like, he's saving people.
This guy's a threat. Look at him. He's helping people. This guy, he's got to go down.
There's, like, some little girl, thanks, Superman.
Spits on him.
But man, like fans, we're a hard lot to please, man. Like for every fan that likes the direction you're taking their characters, you got 10 of them that don't, and I think that is probably not any more relevant now that all of the headlines that I've seen. We're going back to Captain America here a little bit because I looked in Time magazine. Released an article yesterday where they sat down with Marvel executive editor Tom Brevoort. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And they asked him like, what's going on with Captain America? Did you happen to read that or hear anything about the turn that Captain America's taken in the comic books?
I did read briefly about it. I don't follow on the comics much, but the fact that it is in Time magazine and it's like
it's in Time, man. Like this, it's not some
media. It was like, whoa, what's this story about?
Yeah, this isn't the Nerdist or
about this turn,
or Cinema Blend or anything like that. Yeah, it was on Time magazine.
Right. Yeah.
But one of the writers from Time sat down with the Marvel executive editor and. They asked him about it, and he said apparently this has been like secretly in the works for a while now. In the next issue, they're going to kind of dial back the clock and explain exactly how long Cap has been a Hydra agent and set up this new story arc that sets Steve Rogers on this path and kind of lays the groundwork for where the story is going.
Now, this isn't like... This is supposed to be like canon, right? Or is this going to be...
In the comic books. Now, this is not to be confused with the movies.
No, yeah, right, you're right. In the comics, I mean, this is going to be now official canon, or is this more like kind of like Superman Red Sun sort of situation?
No, this is canon now. In the Marvel Universe, Cap is now a Hydra agent, and they've been kind of setting it up for a while now. And, I can kind of get behind that to an extent because, it's got to be really tough being a writer of a very popular superhero, particularly one.
What do you do?
What do you do after these stories just go on for? I mean, they never end exactly. Like the story never really ends. At most it just gets rebooted. So what can you finally do? I guess at one point they just like, you know what? Let's just make him a bad guy.
Yeah, and what was it? Red Skull is sort of like a Donald Trump kind of guy.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was going with that. Is actually interesting because Nick Spencer, who is the writer for Captain America, is he's a bit of he's a bit of a political activist, and the Red Skull in this issue, Captain America,
is he American?
He is American.
Right.
He's the Red Skull in this issue spouts a lot of political propaganda that you'd probably recognize. Something that goes along the lines of criminal trespassers who make a mockery of America's borders and calls refugees in Germany an invading army and bringing forth fanatical beliefs and crimes to Europe. And that just sounds a little bit too familiar for like where we are currently in this country, particularly one presidential frontrunner.
You can just say it, yeah.
Yeah,
Trump
obviously,
stuff,
he's putting like the
which
ideals.
has already been compared to Nazi stuff anyway. So
exactly,
fits.
He's obviously he's mirroring Trump, which is I think it's interesting. So, putting the words and ideals of the current presidential Republican frontrunner into one of the vilest villains in the Marvel universe, it's a statement. It's a statement. But now that Cap has taken a turn, how do you think we're supposed to feel about the fact that Cap is essentially a Trump supporter now?
I don't know. I don't know that guy's work, but the notion of it definitely seems subversive. Like try something out in order to rile people up and see what their reaction is and see what he can get away with probably within the story. Like you were saying, the decades and decades of story, what do you do that's new?
Exactly.
And, and maybe it is time. We do have plenty of Americans who support that kind of rhetoric with Trump. So, maybe it is time to kind of do something shocking and have a character as kind of PC as Captain America actually be.
Well,
opposite force. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, it raises the question.
I see both sides.
It raises the question because when you have a character like Captain America, obviously he's going to have a lot of. He's a character that represents America, and so
right.
you have, if you're a writer for him, you are put into that position. Like everything you do with that character makes a statement,
right.
Because it represents those morals and those ideals and those beliefs. But the problem with it is America it's so many different ideas and beliefs that you can't really put the political agenda into the hands of one writer, one person's beliefs, and I think that's where a lot of the problems are coming from, particularly in this because the move has not been well received. I was reading on bleedingcool.com this morning that Nick Spencer, the writer, he's actually receiving death threats via Twitter. People are tweeting him, telling him to die. One fan in particular who is Jewish, tweeted like he was totally heartbroken that Cap now supports a Nazi organization.
Yeah, I just saw that now on Twitter as well. A lot of people being like, you took a character, an anti-Nazi character created by Jewish writers and made him a Nazi sympathizer. How could you? You're disgusting.
Yeah, they're really digging into him, and I got to give him a little bit of credit, I guess, because for all of that, I think his tweet, he responded with one tweet that I saw. I don't know if he responded with a lot of them, but it was just something along the lines of, I can't respond to all these tweets, but I admire your passion.
Yeah, I see that right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one right after is kill yourself.
Yeah.
The next one.
Perfect, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh God. Yeah, but it's interesting. But it raises the question. Do we take our fandoms too seriously? So much so to the point where like we don't like what they're doing with this character, so we're going to send death threats. No, I don't think anybody's going to actually like assassinate this guy.
It's total keyboard bravery. Like people behind their computer acting like they're the big shot or whatever, and throwing out threats of violence because they can.
Because they can, exactly.
Yeah, they're in a safe solitary place, and I do think when it becomes like this death threat thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's actually getting a little too accepted. I think that's pretty vile.
Yeah, we should probably tone it down. It's
especially that like in this time and age where it's like, hey man, nerd culture won. Nerds won. The mainstream big movies are superhero films. Those are the big movies that everybody now wants to go see. The number one TV show in the world is a show with dragons.
Oh yeah,
magic.
That's is Game of Thrones the biggest show right now?
It's definitely internationally famous.
If it's not Game of Thrones, it's definitely like Walking Dead or something.
Yeah, even then, right? Regular people are like, hey, "Let's watch that zombie show," as if it was like Dallas.
My mother watches that show, man. Like she would have. My mother would never watch a movie like that.
We won. So
the geek have inherited the earth.
Right. So like, I think it's kind of need to step back and appreciate, like, okay, maybe writers are going to try this, writers are going to try that, but that doesn't mean we have the right to become like we're on the top of the throne.
Yeah.
In terms of Star Wars is back.
Star Wars is back.
Trek things being made. Like we really won. It's we shouldn't be sending out death threats. But I think it's almost like this is like a totality. It's like it has to be
the way I want it to be.
Right. Or like I want this to be great. Don't it's like the Rotten Tomatoes thing that always happens. It's like
it's
and
that's
when Batman v Superman came out, they were like threatening all these critics who were giving it bad reviews.
I think that's kind of like the problem in this culture of which we're part of this huge nerd culture. Is it's this kind of sense of entitlement. Like if you do something that we don't like with the character, we're gonna revolt. With in this case, Captain America. Also, I think like last week the big thing was there were some people pulling to make Captain America gay, and they felt like that's the direction that character should go. And and of course there's two sides of this where
whoa.
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, there's people because I think there's a gay community out there, and they want a character that they can kind of identify with, and that would be a good thing for them. But then there's that other side that they don't want that because everybody wants that character to be relatable to them, and if the character's not relatable to them, then they don't like where the character's going.
A friend of mine, like, because there was all those jokes about. Still is about Force Awakens, like Oscar Isaac's, Poe Dameron, and
and Finn.
Yeah, it's like, would you be mad if they're gay? And I'm like, man, at this point, I don't care. Like,
yeah, I just don't care anymore. I don't care enough to get up in arms.
If it turns out in the next one they're gay, great.
I would just say, oh, good for them.
As long as it's Star Wars and I get my dramatic Force stuff and Jedi battles and star battles, and I'm fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly, and and it's like I said, for not for everybody, but for a large number of them, the entitlement is there. I don't think for you and I, or a lot of the people we talk to,
and I think it might come from like there's this feeling like it's like they still need to pretend we're in the era of like Batman and Robin, where like, this material was just shit on, not taken seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, not seriously like Batman v Superman seriously, but at least respected and done with creativity. But that's not that era anymore. We're not in that era.
Yeah, this is true.
So I really do think like in terms of Captain America and as an example of really shifting what a character is, I can understand people getting mad at that. And maybe I don't know. I haven't read the comic, so I don't know the full context of what he's trying to do.
Right.
But there might be a fundamental thing that like maybe he broke, and I guess one argues that with what Zack Snyder did with Superman and Batman v Superman. That like he didn't understand Superman, or he just doesn't like Superman and did what he did with it.
Yeah, exactly. And who actually even jumped on board with it was Chris Evans. Even took to his Twitter when he read this, and he just tweeted Nick Spencer with the hashtag "Say It Ain't So," which I kind of thought was funny. Which Chris Evans is like, hey,
whatever,
man,
you fugitive of the law.
Yeah, you traitor scum.
Right. Team Stark.
But I just thought that was kind of a cool little footnote to the story where...
Yeah. Hey, Chris, now that we don't have a Superman, it's like Chris Evans is sort of like the most noble in the way he's been able to and allowed to play Captain America. He's kind of like the most noble superhero we've had since Chris Reeve as Superman.
I think so too.
It embodies a superhero.
Yeah, I mean, and I discussed all that last week. With the direction they're going with Superman and my issues with it, and Ryan was nice enough to kind of stay on the other side of it and kind of be the devil's advocate, so to speak.
Right.
Which I don't agree with him, but I appreciate it.
But he's wrong. No.
But, we all have the directions that we want to see our characters go because, geek culture is so huge. And like you said earlier, man, the biggest show right now is a fantasy series, something that's kind of inspired by Tolkien and Dungeons and Dragons.
And or a zombie show.
And or a zombie show. This is true.
You would have never thought that even when we were kids in the 90s. Like, no way.
No, absolutely. And so the big one right now that has everybody kind of going crazy is Game of Thrones, and we just hit the mid-season mark because I think every season is about 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Which is I think a good length of time. I don't know. I think they're going to go 2 more seasons after this one.
It feels weird, man. Because don't you get the feeling like they could
they're,
almost wrap up?
Yeah, I feel like they're with the way everything's kind of reaching a crescendo this season.
Yeah,
they're gonna wrap it up. So let me go ahead and
stuff's coming to a heat, man. Shit's gonna go down.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, let me go ahead and I'm gonna fire off the spoiler alert button because we're about to kind of jump into Game of Thrones season 6, episode 5. So, spoiler alert for those of you who have not watched it. And you don't want to know what's happening at this point in the show, go ahead.
I don't know how you haven't found out.
Yeah, if you haven't found out, I mean, it's been spoiled for everybody. That's why I always watch it the night of, and if I don't, I stay the hell off of social media, man, because there's been friendships.
It's a no-win scenario.
Friendships have ended over this shit. As a matter of fact, I think I actually got mad at you once, going back to like.
Yeah, guys, I was like, just stay offline. You're like, I shouldn't have to.
Well, it wasn't even. I think it was during the Purple Wedding, and it was you said something that you thought was kind of vague booking, and then somebody else said something that they thought was kind of vague booking. And I saw both of those statuses, and I pieced it together very quickly what had happened at the Purple Wedding, and I was pissed.
I kind of came to your side later on. I was like, he's right. We want to, because it was more enthusiasm. It's like you want to post and like talk. And
you want to talk about it. Exactly. I get it.
Right.
I do understand.
Some friends like, yeah, man, I'm working. Like, I'm not home yet.
It's true. I was working, but where we are at this point in the show, man, like it just seems like a lot of these stories are almost. It feels like they're coming to a head. These plots and subplots that we've seen going for 6 seasons now. Yeah. Huge point in the show.
How many characters have died?
Oh, I honestly I don't even know, to be honest. Too many.
Like in this season.
This season? Oh Jesus! Main characters.
I don't know if you want to hit the button now. That way we can.
Oh no! I've already fired the spoiler alert. You won't.
Oh okay. Oh cool. My bad.
That's all right.
All right. So you have Bolton being murdered by Ramsay.
Right.
Asha. What's her name? The one who was like protecting Reek. Good job there.
Oh yeah, she's gone. She's done.
She's done. And I feel like I'm forgetting another character that died earlier this season. Oh, the king of the
Oh yeah, the King of Dorne, yeah, or Prince of Dorne, whichever.
Prince of Dorne, and then the king of the Ironborns.
Right, exactly. So yeah, man, he wasn't they had only introduced him like last season.
Which one, Ironborn or Dorne?
No, Dorne.
Yeah. Alexander Siddig.
But so that one wasn't too terribly shocking. But I kind of feel like they're done with that Dornish storyline. I don't think they're gonna dive into that too much deeper. And if they do, then they do. But
they might be. I don't know if they're gonna do it right away, but because she's definitely planning revenge.
Mm-hmm.
For all the years that they've been screwed over by Westeros.
Well, that it kind of brings an interesting brings something interesting a different direction that I feel like they could take that. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I do have some speculations and I do have some theories about it, and I think everybody does. I've heard you can talk to 12 different people and you can hear 12 different projections for where they think the story's going to go.
Some of them being pretty out there.
Pretty out there, yeah. But there's some of them that are not quite so out there.
They might be on the money.
Where we were all shocked this past Sunday was with Bran in his visions with the three-eyed raven actually making contact with the Night King from the White Walkers, which was somehow able to break this like magical seal that they have. But that opened the way for the White Walkers to actually get into this spiritual sanctuary. And it's really interesting what they're doing with these visions that Bran is now able to have, because it's a great storytelling device from that standpoint, because Bran is, they've kind of showed it. He's not just having visions of the past. He's actually traveling across time and space, and in some ethereal form or another, he is actually time traveling. It's not like he's like, hey, pull up scenario,
blah blah blah. It's like, no, he's there.
Yeah, exactly. And even the young Eddard Stark was able to hear him earlier this season.
What?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, what was that? Which I think is also really interesting. But just as the White Walkers were making their way in, he was having a vision of young Hodor standing there inside Winterfell, and he warged into Hodor to get himself out of there, to get himself away, and that affected Hodor in the past. For those of you who need your heart ripped out of your chest, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the clip real quick. So this was.
Hold the door! Hold the door! Please! What's the matter?
Hold the door! 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 Hold the door!
Oh God! Honestly, I was watching.
I was choking up listening to it.
Yeah, just listening to it, and I've got the clip right here in front of me, and I'm watching it, and I was on my feet, like I had just like a little girl, man. I had my hands over my mouth, and I was breathing through my hands, and
yeah.
it's insane, man. Like such a great storytelling device in that we now know why he said that, because it messed with his mind so much, and that he went back and he basically experienced his death years before he died.
Right. Yeah, it's like for him, it was like almost like without realizing, like a precognition. For Hodor, it must have been like, just.
And that's what I wonder. Like,
and then seemingly has a seizure.
Yeah,
that's what everyone else probably would see it as, and it's like he has this one duty that he has to fulfill.
You said duty.
Sorry. And well, just one thing he has to do, and then it came to pass.
Which makes me wonder, did he know? Do you think he knew?
He's an instinctual guy, and I think he kind of at that moment kind of knew.
kind of knew like what his purpose would be. I wonder like when he met Bran for the first time, like did he know
I would not know. I think it would be like in that moment, like right when it was happening. It was like, everything came to pass, everything got fulfilled, and everything like this is it, and this is his moment, this is his time, and he's gonna save Bran by holding the door, and like
not all heroes carry swords, some just hold the door.
Hey man, you hold back thousands of
zombies,
zombies and White Walkers, So and I mean it was just incredibly powerful because it's you think like, oh, Hodor must have hit his head one day, kind of thing. Someone was cool and like threw a rock at his head or something.
And
but
nobody knew what the word Hodor meant.
It's tragic,
It's very tragic, and like honestly, man, I'm not ashamed to say, like I rolled a couple of tears watching that scene.
Oh yeah, I was struggling. I was sitting with other friends, so I was like, yeah, whatever.
Who's cutting onions in here?
Yeah. Somebody close the door. There's pollen.
Close the door, and then you just ball up into the fetal position.
Close the door.
It's kind of funny though, from a storytelling standpoint, though. Like like you said, this was like a precognition, and what happened in the future what happened in the past has affected the future, as it always does. But in this case, it works both ways. What happens in the future affected the past. So like this
years
was always
before.
meant. This was
years before. That's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of that way of saying like it all happened before, it'll all happen again.
Yeah,
Which here's the theory that we can kind of like, and the great thing about the show being so far ahead of the books now is that we can kind of like look back and we can speculate freely now, because you don't have someone going, well, in the books,
those book snobs on the book
in the book, this is the way they did it. So
I have a friend of mine who read the books, and like I can see now every week he's kind of like, he doesn't have that power.
He doesn't have the power, exactly.
So he's all vulnerable. It's like, oh, what's up, man? You didn't like that episode? You didn't like that? What's going on? Because you didn't know it? You didn't know it was going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. No, I love the direction they're taking with it so far, because, like I said, so many things are coming to like a crescendo, so to speak, right now.
There's been some nice levity. Like last season, it definitely. I mean, that was probably the most uneven season of Game of Thrones, and it also kind of had come to feel like a horror show. Like it was just so grim last year.
A little bit, yeah.
There's like this one, and we had her kind of right off the bat, like Brienne finally being able to like swear herself to Sansa and protect her finally, and then like Sansa finally uniting with a member of her family, Jon. It was just like, oh, thank God, like some happiness for like a little bit of time. You know what I mean?
Here is kind of what I see happening. If we've seen what happens in the future affects what happens in the past, which is what affects the future.
What?
They say that the Mad King went insane because he heard voices right before he gave the order to kill them all, to wipe out everything at King's Landing. Here's the theory that I've had a couple friends say is, do you think that maybe Bran could be responsible for the Mad King going crazy?
Maybe, or perhaps another warger. What is that called?
Oh, a warg, yeah.
Oh, another warger, or another warg. Because there was they showed previously that remember the wildling,
right,
guy could warg.
They did, like a few people had.
So there's definitely more than one out there.
That's true. Maybe, yeah. I hadn't considered that. There are other ones out there. Maybe there is in these stories a lot of, you have a hero who has their opposite but equal that they have to face off with, and maybe that's the direction Bran's going. Maybe
who knows?
But
it could be Bran. But I think the idea of it just in the simple being a warg is a really possibility.
Yeah. And I kind of
whether
see
Bran or someone else. That seems kind of interesting.
I kind of see it coming full circle with that, where Bran kind of goes back in this vision, or goes back in time, and thinking that maybe if he stops the Mad King, it will somehow fix things in the present. But in it very much as the Oedipus story, like in very much trying to change the past, you actually create the event.
Right.
But I thought that would be kind of a cool twist to take on it. Another thing I see happening here in the
definitely with the because the king heard voices. And the other side of things, I do like it, just the idea of him just being insane.
Yeah, which he very well could have been.
Right. But the other way is not. Yeah, I mean it's all real possible. It's all real possible. Like he's now, like you said, like they're really opening things up, and pulling fast to some sort of climax, at least this season.
Yeah,
and I hope we're not done with him going back in time.
No, we're definitely not done with him going back in time because he's a brilliant plot device right now. They're going to continue to do it, but he has to now do it on his own without his spirit guide, and that's kind of that's like my favorite.
Stop killing Max. Will these fantasy stories stop killing Max von Sydow too early? Like Force Awakens and this, I was like, really? You got Max von Sydow, The Exorcist, just for 2 seconds?
Well, Max von Sydow is, in this character, if Bran is, kind of walking the hero's journey, as Campbell's hero's journey, everybody knows, they're always greeted by the mentor who helps them realize their powers.
Oh, that's true.
And then, and the mentor has to go if the hero is to uncover his full potential as the hero.
Right.
Luke Skywalker would have never realized his full potential if Obi-Wan was holding his hand the entire time, and this isn't really any different.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's they're always thrown into those situations before they're ready. Like, and he even said, "You're not ready." Neo, had to go.
Yeah.
Save
Am I ready?
Nope.
You gotta go.
Nope. Well, you done fucked up, and the Night King is on his way right up now. And now I'm dead.
Right.
But Neo.
And look, Hodor's dead. Great job, Bran.
Great job, Bran. You killed.
Oh, I've heard this theory too. That because of the time traveling stuff, is Bran older, but back in time, kind of thing. Like it's starting to get crazy.
Yeah, well, it's when you introduce time travel into any story, really. You run that risk of things getting a little convoluted. But if you do it right, I'm okay with time travel in any story, so long as you set the rules for your time travel and then play, but don't change the rules. Like, what I like Back to the Future had very clear rules for time travel, and they played inside of that sandbox.
Right.
Whereas opposed to you watch something like Doctor Who, and the rules get really convoluted after several seasons because they have all these plot devices and
they're making it up as they go.
They're just kind of making it up as they go, and you can kind of tell. Don't get me wrong, not to take anything away from that. It's a great program. But,
I don't want to.
Yeah, well,
bash it away, man.
But it's really confusing, and hopefully with all of the subplots and things that they have going on in Game of Thrones this season, we won't have to worry about the story getting convoluted because we've got enough subplots already.
Yeah, you think Jon Snow's going to lose against Ramsay?
I don't think he is. No.
I don't want him to, but the show really, and I kind of this has been one of if I have to be negative about the show, their focus on Ramsay has been a real bummer because he's such a.
I felt like I was
such a.
He is. He's a huge piece of shit. And I remember watching this last episode, or not this last episode, but 1 or 2 episodes back, thinking this fucker is more sadistic than Joffrey Baratheon, and I didn't think that was possible.
And now he has and now he's got a whole army. And I just feel like the show has focused on him way too much. That it's I'm ready for him to just die already. Please, can we have a bad guy die?
Yeah, can we please? Well, Joffrey Baratheon died, and that was supremely satisfying for all of us.
Yeah, but then it fucked over. You know what I mean? There's always a price.
It fucked over Tyrion, but then but look at where Tyrion is too. Yeah, there is kind of always a price. It's true, but they've already killed Jon Snow. Will they?
Yeah,
kill
but
him
Tyrion's
again?
going to die an early death.
Oh, shut up! Don't you speak those words, sir? Don't even joke about it.
He needs to stop drinking.
But one of the things that I thought was funny was with all of the media uproar over over Game of Thrones and the death of Hodor. Jimmy Kimmel on his show
it's been pretty acknowledged though as like a sad thing as opposed to people being angry about it, right?
Oh no, absolutely no. Everyone's sad about it, but I don't think anybody's angry about it because honestly,
it felt natural.
It felt like it was a good death in the show. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a Ned Stark death.
That's what I mean. Like
it was insanely heroic.
Again, it was insanely sad and insanely heroic.
Absolutely,
so it was just perfect.
It wasn't like a Ned Stark death where
right. What the fuck?
Yeah,
right.
or a Robb Stark death.
Right. Well, that was pretty rough too.
That was a rough one. But no, I mean, I was pretty good with the direction they took with it. Some people were not so much, and then hashtag Hold the Door started, and that was trending on social media for a while.
Yeah, I went to a Yankee game 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And there was a guy, and it's Yankee, and we were playing the Toronto, and of course, every time the Toronto guys were at bat, they're just ragging on the guys and everything, and they started calling one guy Hodor.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah, and of course everyone's like, "Yeah, hold the door, hold the door, Hodor." Oh my God. So I was like, man, it's already like
it's everywhere now. It's
jocks at a Yankee game are quoting it. So there you go.
Exactly. Well, the Game of Thrones producers came on Jimmy Kimmel. I think it was one of the executive producers and then one of the writers to apologize for killing Hodor.
But David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, I think.
Okay,
right?
Wow, you're on top of it. But here's, in case you didn't see it, this is a clip from the Jimmy Kimmel show.
We'd like to apologize for Sunday's episode.
Not for killing Hodor. We kill a lot of main characters.
We've killed 739 main characters so far.
We're sorry for all the idiots who, from now on, will be shouting Hodor every time you go through a door.
Hodor! Hodor! Hodor!
Did you see Game of Thrones?
Off. You forgot how annoying people can be. That's our bad.
We should have seen that coming.
That's just a little taste of that clip. I don't want to run the whole thing.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. Exactly.
It is happening,
I mean, it's like the next day, like there was already memes and cartoons where people have done the Hodor bit with hashtag.
Oh
Hodor.
man, can you imagine how many offices like for an elevator like Hodor?
Oh
Hodor.
Jesus! I can't even imagine.
And they're like just
But you know what, man? It's exciting. I'm happy about the direction that Game of Thrones has taken this season, and I would have been.
I think that was what was missing from last season was like a kind of a build up, like no one had a goal. Everyone was kind of like loose. No one knew what to do with themselves last season, and this one, everyone's got a real goal this year.
I agree, and I'm actually really happy about it. I feel like we're finally kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for where this show is going to go. And we're seeing a lot of these characters, especially these heroes that we've come to love, like actually finally reaching their full potential. Look at Jon Snow from the first season was just this kind of boy that was lost in the world, and now he's a man that has led the Night's Watch and returned from death. Daenerys was this meek, timid little girl who was at her brother's beck and call.
Her savage brother's whim.
Yeah, and she's now, basically she rules all the calls now. She's the queen of this land over in Esteros. She has these dragons. She has this army. Arya Stark is another one who's had an amazing story arc, who's just now starting to see her full potential, and that's really exciting when you see. I mean, like you watch a movie, like Star Wars or something like that, and in 3 movies you see these characters come to their full potential, and that's always really satisfying. But when you see
the full arc.
Exactly, but when you see the full arc that you have to wait like 6, 7, 8 years to see these characters come to their full potential,
right.
Like you've taken the ride with these characters, and I think that's why Game of Thrones is such a popular show, is because you put the time in, and whether you hate George R.R. Martin for killing these characters, but the show is still supremely satisfying, even though you don't always get what you want.
No, because I think it's always serving a higher purpose. It's Game of Thrones is a fantasy show, but it's not Willow.
No, it's
it's
definitely
not
not
Labyrinth.
Willow.
It's a very kind of like it's very kind of a real world. The world it's hard, it's cruel, and you have to practically be evil to survive in it.
Yeah, almost.
And do morally compromising things. And I think that's why the show never feels like it's just being, nasty or something like that, because it's serving a vision, a point of what this world is about. Sadly, it's a will. Excuse me. The whole thing is like a will to power. Everybody just wants that throne.
I totally agree, and I think that's where that show is going. I feel that there's going to be a real lesson learned for us at the end of it, in that all this fighting and struggling over power, and there's this great threat looming outside that nobody's paying attention to it.
Winter.
Yeah.
Global climate, it's coming.
It's climate change, yeah. It's climate change. It's while we're sitting there squabbling over resources and power and money and all these things that don't really matter. And I think towards the end of it, we're going to see that if these characters could have just banded together. I mean, we're even caught up. We're caught up in these stories. Who's going to rule the Iron Throne?
See, Trump fans think the White Walkers are Mexicans. That's what they think.
And we're back on Trump. But
no, sorry, cheap shot.
No, it's fine. I'm not a Trump supporter. It's okay. But it makes a lot of sense though that the moral of the story would be set aside your petty differences, because I feel and I'm afraid that the story is going to end with everybody dying and the world ending, and it could have been prevented if only they would have set aside their differences.
It's pretty shit, man. It's pretty bleak.
It's pretty bleak, but it's also, it would. I think it would resonate.
Not even one survivor. Hello.
Well, at least I have my books. No, there was time now. It's not fair.
Game of Thrones.
Twilight Zone reference for those of you kids that didn't get that.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how it's going to end. You and I talked about this 2 seasons ago.
I think we did, yeah. When
seasons ago.
I came up to New York City and
Wildlings.
I came up to New York City and we watched all of the 4th season of Game of Thrones together.
Yeah, and the Wildlings attacked the wall.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
But you mentioned yourself, I always forget about the wall because, all the other stuff in Westeros is so much more compelling and all that. And I think I was I think that's the point. That's what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
In Westeros, they're all forgetting about what the actual vital, important thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's so true. We'll have to wait for the next couple years to see how the show finally ends. I hope they're ramping up for a conclusion, honestly, because as much as I don't want the show to end, we've seen what happens. We've seen what happens when a show goes on too long. Walking Dead.
Yeah,
kind of how I feel.
I tapped out on Walking Dead.
I did too, man. Honestly, I'll just wait for Netflix and then I'll just watch it all in one viewing. So I'm never really caught up on Walking Dead at any given time.
I tapped out on season 4 because it just got so repetitive and the same shit, making the same mistakes.
I feel exactly the same way.
It was aggravating. It was really, we're doing that again.
There's no real story arc, and I think they might have it planned one season ahead, but the shit just drags out and gets really boring, and I feel like it just kind of needs to. They kind of need to.
The zombie kills. There's only so many ways you can make that.
I would start cheering if a UFO landed or something like that on the show, even though it's totally out of left field. I'm yes, something different.
Right.
But anyways, Rick, I appreciate you coming in and sitting on the podcast with me. And man, I will definitely call you in and have you do another one with me here in the near future.
I'd love to, buddy.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. Today. It's been a good time for Welcome to Nerdtopia. I'm Doolin Dalton.
I'm Ember Rodriguez.
And thanks for nerding out with us, guys. Have a good night.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching the visual version of my podcast here on my YouTube page. For the audio version on the go, you can visit the SoundCloud page. The link address is listed in the video description here below. And thank you so much for your support.